The morning I stopped believing in luck was the same morning my coffee tasted like metal and my heart forgot how to beat. I'm Grace Miller, 62 years old, grandma to 3 loud boys who think I'm magic because I can make pancakes into dinosaurs. I thought I knew everything about love. I was wrong. That morning, the sun came in soft through the kitchen window, and I told myself it would be a good day. I always did that. Good days don't just happen. You invite them in. "Tom," I called, "you want eggs or oatmeal?" No answer. I smiled anyway. Married people learn to smile into silence. It keeps the house warm. I cracked eggs, humming an old song from the radio days, when music felt like a promise instead of a memory. My phone buzzed on the counter. Linda. My best friend for 38 years. I wiped my hands and picked up. "Morning, troublemaker." Her voice came bright and fast. "Gracie, guess what? If it's another discount coupon, I swear." I got the job. I laughed. "You already had a job." "Not this one, office manager. Better pay, better hours. I'll finally stop borrowing sugar from you." "You never borrow sugar," I said. "You just take it." She laughed louder. "See, this is why I love you." I meant it when I said, "I love you too." Linda and I met in our 20s, both broke, both hopeful, both believing men were puzzles you could solve if you just tried hard enough. We failed together. We cried together. We grew older together. When I married Tom, Linda stood beside me in a blue dress, holding my shaking hands. When Tom lost his job years later, Linda brought over casseroles and jokes. When my mother died, Linda slept on my couch and held me while I cried into her shoulder. I trusted her with my life. I trusted her with my marriage. "Are you coming over later?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. "Tom been stressed. I want to check on him." She paused, just a breath. "He's lucky to have you." That pause stayed with me after we hung up. Tom finally came into the kitchen, tying his tie too tight like he was trying to choke himself awake. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine," he said too quickly. I slid a plate toward him. "You barely slept." "Work stuff." He didn't look at me. He hadn't been looking at me much lately. "Linda got a new job," I said lightly. His fork scraped the plate. "That's nice." Too fast again. I studied his face. 58, gray at the temples. The man I built a life with. The man who once danced with me barefoot in the rain. The man who now smelled, faintly, of a perfume that wasn't mine. I told myself I was imagining it. That's what women like me do. We explain away the cracks because we're afraid of what might fall through. Tom kissed my cheek and grabbed his briefcase. "I'll be late tonight." "You said that yesterday." "And the day before," he said, not smiling. The door closed behind him. The house felt colder. I cleaned to distract myself, wiped counters already clean, folded towels that didn't need folding. By noon, my chest felt tight. I drove to Linda's house without calling first. That's how close we were, no doors between us. Her car was in the driveway. So was Tom's. I told myself it meant nothing. I knocked anyway. Linda opened the door, breathless, hair pulled up messy like she'd been running. "Oh, Grace. Am I interrupting?" No, she said quickly. "Just paperwork." Tom appeared behind her, sleeves rolled up. They both froze. Silence stretched long and ugly. "Oh," Tom said, "I forgot my printer," Linda cut in. "He was helping me set it up." I laughed too loudly. Of course, technology hates us at this age. Tom didn't laugh. I left after a few minutes, my stomach heavy. In the car, my hands shook on the steering wheel. That night, Tom didn't come home until after midnight. "I fell asleep on the couch," he said, not meeting my eyes. I lay awake beside him, listening to his breathing, wondering when my life had started to feel like someone else's coat. The next weeks blurred together. Late nights. Short answers. Phone turned face down. Linda texting more, calling less. "You okay?" I asked her once. Just busy, she said. You know how it is. I did know. That's what scared me. One Saturday morning, Tom left early. Golf, he said. Linda texted 10 minutes later. Can't make brunch, headache. I stared at the message until the letters swam. Something inside me snapped, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet click like a door locking. I cleaned the bedroom, changed the sheets, straightened Tom's side of the bed. When I lifted his pillow, something small rolled out. It landed on the sheet with a soft tap. An earring. Gold, teardrop-shaped. I knew it. I'd seen it 100 times. Linda wore it to my birthday dinner last year. To church. To my granddaughter's recital. My fingers closed around it. The room tilted. I sat on the bed, holding that tiny piece of truth, my mind screaming no while my heart whispered yes. Footsteps sounded in the hall. I looked up. Tom stood in the doorway. His face went white when he saw what was in my hand. Grace, he said. I didn't answer. The house felt very quiet. And for the first time in decades, I didn't know who the stranger in my marriage was anymore. Tom stood there like a boy caught stealing cookies, his mouth opening and closing, his eyes stuck on the earring in my hand. Grace, it's not. Don't, I said softly. My voice surprised me. It didn't shake. It didn't crack. It sounded calm, like a lake hiding something dark underneath. He stepped into the room. Let me explain. I laughed once, a short, sharp sound. You're standing in our bedroom. That earring belongs to my best friend. Please explain that. He ran a hand through his hair. You're jumping to conclusions. I held it up. Linda wore this to my birthday. She leaned across the table and said she loved my dress. I remember because she dropped mashed potatoes on it. Tom swallowed. I stood slowly. My knees felt weak, but anger held me upright. How did it get under your pillow? I asked. He looked away. That hurt more than any words. Answer me, I said. She stopped by, he muttered. We talked, she cried, I hugged her, it must have fallen. I stared at him, under your pillow. Silence. Tom, I said, my voice rising now, I am 62 years old. I raised children, I buried parents. I survived things you don't even know about. Do not insult me with a lie that thin. His shoulders dropped. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said. There it was. The sentence that ends marriages. My ears rang, so it did happen. He nodded once slowly, like the word weighed 1,000 pounds. I felt something tear inside me, but no tears came. Just heat, just pressure. With Linda, I said. Another nod. I sat back down on the bed because my legs gave up. My best friend. The woman who held my hand at my wedding. The woman who called me sister. How long? I whispered. Tom rubbed his face. A few months. A few months, I repeated, while she sat at my table, while she hugged my grandchildren. He tried to reach for me. I pulled away. Don't touch me. I was lonely, he said quickly. You were always tired, always busy with the kids and the house and... So you slept with my best friend, I finished. He flinched. It wasn't like that at first. It never is, I said. I stood and walked past him, straight into the bathroom. I locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. I looked at myself in the mirror. Gray hair, soft wrinkles, eyes that had seen too much. You're not stupid, I told my reflection. You trusted, that's not the same thing. A knock came at the door. Grace, please. Go away, I said. I love you. I closed my eyes. You loved me yesterday, too. I stayed in there until the house went quiet. That night, I slept in the guest room. I stared at the ceiling and remembered every moment Linda and I had shared, replaying them with new eyes. The pauses. The looks. The way she talked about Tom like she knew him better than she should. By morning, my decision was clear. I needed to hear it from her mouth. I drove to Linda's house again, my hands steady this time. She opened the door smiling, then saw my face. "Oh," she said, "you know." I held out the earring. Her smile fell apart. "Grace." "How long?" I asked. She started crying immediately, loud, messy sobs. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said between tears. "But you did," I said, "every day." She reached for my arm. "It just happened." I pulled away. "That's what he said." She looked down. "Say it," I told her. "Say you slept with my husband." Her lips trembled. "I love him." The words hit harder than any slap. I laughed again, bitter and loud. "Of course you do." She cried harder. "He understands me. He listens." "He's my husband," I said, "or he was." She wiped her face. "We were going to tell you." "When?" I snapped. "After Christmas, after my birthday, or after you moved into my house." She said nothing. I turned to leave. "Grace," she called after me, "we're soulmates." I stopped at the door. "You were my sister," I said quietly, "and you chose this." I drove home numb. Tom was waiting in the living room. "She told you," he said. "Yes," I answered. He stood. "We need to talk about what comes next." I looked at him, really looked. "You're right," I said, "we do." But not the conversation he was expecting. And not the ending either. Tom sat down like a man preparing for a business meeting, not like someone who had just set fire to his own life. He folded his hands. "We should be calm." That word did it. I laughed so hard I had to hold the arm of the chair. "Calm? You and my best friend tore my heart in half, and you want calm." "I'm trying to be reasonable," he said. "Reasonable was 20 years ago," I replied, "when honesty still lived in this house." He sighed, frustrated. "Linda and I didn't plan this." "You planned every lie," I said. "Every late night, every look away." He opened his mouth, then closed it. "Good." Silence finally suited him. "I want a separation," he said, "just for now." I nodded slowly. "Of course you do." "What does that mean?" "It means you think you get space without consequences." "That's not fair." I stood up. "Fair left when you crawled into my bed with her earring under your pillow." His face darkened. "You don't have to be cruel." I stepped closer. "Cruel is pretending I don't know what betrayal feels like." He rubbed his temples. "I don't want to fight." "You already did," I said, "and I lost, so congratulations." I turned toward the hallway. "Where are you going?" he asked. "To pack," I said. "One of us is leaving tonight." He stood. "You can't just decide that." "I can," I said. "I just did." I packed slowly, carefully. Not clothes, memories. Photo albums, letters, the mug he bought me on our 10th anniversary. Tom hovered in the doorway like a ghost. "You're really doing this," he said. "Yes." "Where will you go?" I zipped the bag. "Somewhere I'm not lied to." I stayed with my daughter, Emily. She didn't ask questions at first. She just hugged me tight and long. "Grandma's sleeping over," my grandson asked. "Yes," I said, "for a while." That night, when the house was quiet, my phone buzzed. Linda. I stared at the screen. Message after message poured in. "Please talk to me. I never meant for this to happen. He said you and him were drifting. I love you like a sister." I typed one sentence. "You lost the right to call me that." I blocked her. Days passed. Tom called, left messages, apologized, blamed stress, blamed age, blamed everything but himself. I didn't answer. Then something unexpected happened. My neighbor, Mrs. Collins, stopped me outside Emily's house. "I heard Tom moved out," she said gently. I nodded. She leaned closer. "You should know Linda's been coming by your house, late at night." My stomach dropped. "What?" "She parks down the street, sneaks in. I thought you knew." I thanked her and walked back inside, my hands shaking. That night, I drove past my house. Lights were on. 2 shadows moved behind the curtains. I didn't go in. Instead, I sat in the car, watching the life I built being rewritten by people I once loved. And that's when I made a decision. If they thought I was weak because I was kind, they were about to learn how wrong they were. But first, I needed proof. And I knew exactly where to get it. I waited 3 days before I made my move. Not because I was scared. Because I was thinking. Pain makes you rush. Wisdom makes you wait. On the 4th morning, I drove back to my house while the sun was still low. The street was quiet, like it didn't want to get involved. Tom's car was gone. Linda was. I sat there for a full minute, my hands on the steering wheel, my heart knocking hard against my ribs. Then I smiled. "All right," I whispered. "Let's stop pretending." I unlocked my front door and walked in like I still belonged there, because I did. The smell hit me first. Her perfume. Sweet, floral, familiar. I followed it down the hallway, every step steady, every breath controlled. Voices came from the kitchen. Laughing. Her laugh. The same one that used to sit across from me at my table. I stepped into the doorway. They froze. Linda dropped her coffee mug. It shattered on the floor. Tom turned pale. "Grace." "Don't stop on my account," I said calmly. "You both look very comfortable." Linda scrambled for words. "I thought you were, Tom said." "He lies," I said. "You should know that by now." Tom stood up. "You can't just walk in here." I raised an eyebrow. "I own this house." Silence. Linda's mouth opened, then closed. "I just came for a few things," I continued, "and to remind you of something." I walked to the counter and picked up a photo frame. Our wedding photo. I turned it face down. Linda flinched. "Grace, please," she said. "We didn't mean for it to go this far." "You moved into my home," I said. "That's pretty far." Tom stepped forward. "We're adults, this happens." I looked at him, truly looked. "This happens to people who don't respect vows," I said, "not to people who keep them." I grabbed a folder from my bag and placed it on the table. "What's that?" Tom asked. "My insurance papers," I said, "and copies of bank statements." Linda's face tightened. "Why would we need to see those?" "You don't," I replied, "but my lawyer does." Tom's eyes widened. "Lawyer?" I smiled again, slow and sharp. "Oh, yes." I turned to Linda. "Did you know the house is in my name?" Her head snapped toward Tom. "You said." "He says a lot of things," I cut in. Tom's voice dropped. "Grace, let's talk privately." "No," I said. "You've had enough private conversations." I walked toward the bedroom. Linda panicked. "You can't go in there." I stopped and looked back at her. "Watch me." The bed was messy. Her clothes were on my chair. I picked up a scarf. Hers. I held it up. "You left this too." Linda covered her face. Tom followed me in. "What do you want?" I turned slowly. "I want you out," I said. "Both of you by tonight." "You can't do that," Linda said weakly. "I can," I replied, "and I will." Tom laughed nervously. "You don't have the nerve." I stepped close enough for him to see my eyes. "You mistook my kindness for weakness," I said. "That was your biggest mistake." My phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. "Everything is ready. Let me know when you want to proceed." I slipped the phone back into my pocket. "I'm not done yet," I said quietly. And judging by the fear on their faces, they finally understood that neither were they. By nightfall, the house was quiet again. Too quiet. Linda left first, dragging her suitcase down the hallway, avoiding my eyes. At the door, she stopped. "Grace," she whispered, "I never meant to lose you." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. "You didn't lose me," I said. "You threw me away." She nodded once, then walked out. Tom stayed behind, packing like a trapped animal. "You're really doing this," he said for the third time that night. "I already did," I replied. He looked around the living room, the walls lined with years of our life. "Where am I supposed to go?" I shrugged. "Ask Linda." That hurt him, I could tell. "Good." He grabbed his bag and stopped at the door. "After everything, don't I deserve a chance to explain myself?" I looked at him, and for a moment I saw the man I once loved. Then I saw the earring. "No," I said gently. "You deserve exactly what you chose." The door closed. I didn't lock it. I didn't need to. I sat on the couch and let the silence settle. It wasn't empty. It was peaceful. The next weeks were hard, but clear. The lawyer handled the papers. The bank accounts were divided. The house stayed mine. People talked. They always do. Some asked how I was so calm. I told them the truth. When something breaks slowly, you grieve before it ends. Linda tried to reach out once more, a letter this time. I didn't open it. Some chapters don't need rereading. One afternoon, my granddaughter climbed onto my lap and touched my cheek. "Grandma," she said, "you look different." "How?" I asked. "Stronger." I smiled. That night, I took out the earring. I didn't throw it away. I placed it in a small box, closed the lid, and put it at the back of a drawer. Not as pain. As proof. Proof that trust is precious. Proof that love without respect is a lie. And proof that even at 62, a woman can lose everything and still walk away with herself intact. Thanks for watching. Kindly drop your comment about this story. And please subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories.